my experience here has been a remarkable one. I came on board when the senator was in the criminal bureau, and at that time we had anywhere from 40 to 50 drug deaths per year in the state of New Hampshire. Over the subsequent 15 years that I've had an opportunity to serve, those drug deaths have approached 200 a year. And last calendar year in 2013, we had 193 drug-related deaths. If we saw a 400% increase in deaths due to, say, asthma, or a 400% increase in traffic deaths or homicides, I think that would get a lot of attention. But we've seen, it's on the street, you are dealing with it yourselves, a 400% increase in drug deaths. And the drug deaths, of course, as you know, are just the tip of the iceberg. What's driving that train? Well, as Chief Mara alluded to, in the early part of this decade, that train was being driven by prescription opiates and opioids. Methadone, oxycodone, hydrocodone. But in recent years, the last two and a half years in particular, heroin has really supplanted those, mainly because of the kinds of things that Chief has mentioned. Purity, price. As a matter of fact, it's so pure on the street that intravenous injection isn't really, quote, necessary. You can get the same bang for your buck by snorting or smoking this extremely pure heroin. Nevertheless, I understand that there is this sort of fascination with the ritual of the tourniquet and the needle and the booting and all of that sort of nonsense. But you don't necessarily even have to inject this thing. Now, in terms of other numbers, right here.
Yeah, the way, yeah. Yep.
And let's look at drug deaths, 1995. So that's what it looks like on a graph. From 40 to 50 a year to 200. We can have the next slide. Note the ages. When it was prescription drug abuse in the middle part of the decade, it was our 40 to 50 somethings, even the 50 to 60 somethings. But with the advent of heroin and the cachet that heroin carries, you can see an increase in these lighter bars. So now it isn't dominated by those 40 to 55 somethings that, oh my aching back anymore. We've got the 20 and 30 somethings who've joined them because they're experimenting with heroin. We get to the next slide. There's something, as we all know, about having a Y chromosome that puts you more at risk. So we won't spend a lot of time on that. The vast majority, as a matter of fact, 96% of these deaths are certified as accidents. We only have 2 heroin homicides in my entire experience here, and both of those were admitted injections of another person. Vast majority are accident. Next, they're unintended outcomes. Now, here's what the gist of what I was getting at earlier. For a long time, methadone, which is in the blue line, was our leader. And sort of other opiates were sort of tailing along with it, but they were the oxycodone, the Vicodin, the others, codeine, and that sort of thing. But this recent spike, well, what's driving the recent spike? And you'll see that on the next slide. It's heroin. And that heroin spike started in around 2006. That's the most dramatic increase that I've seen in a single agent in my entire experience here. Next. Methadone was king of the hill throughout the mid-2000s. But you can see heroin was kind of percolating along, sometimes in the background. Then in 2011, it was number 2. 2012, it became number 1 in our top 5 in 2003. When I say top 5, I mean mentions on death certificates and people who have died due to drugs. 4 out of 5 of these things are opiates. We're a very sort of opiate-driven population here. Next. The source of the drug. In the middle part of the decade, prescribed drugs were the ones that were being abused. But now, as you see, in 2012 and 2013, the illicits have soared to the top, and that's your cocaine and your heroin next. This is the tragedy of this. This is the obscenity of this. In 2006, New Hampshire became one of the first of 18 jurisdictions in the United States wherein drug deaths exceeded traffic deaths. Unbelievable, unheard of. But in 2009, that happened across the United States. For the first year since they've been taking statistics, nationwide, there were more drug deaths than traffic deaths, and it's not getting any better. Yes, there was an uptick in traffic deaths, which we're not happy about, but that was mirrored by an uptick in the heroin deaths as well. One final note, and that is the fentanyl issue. My colleague Leah Ducey and I have been conversing about this. In December, there was a report of fentanyl-laced heroin that was responsible for the deaths of 2 people, I believe it was, in Pennsylvania. Since that time, we have now recorded 8 deaths, since that December report, 8 deaths in New Hampshire due to heroin mixed with fentanyl, the purchaser believing they were buying heroin. And as a matter of fact, we have 2 cases wherein we have every reason to believe the purchaser believed they were buying heroin and they died of a pure fentanyl overdose. Fentanyl being a pharmaceutical agent that's 10 times more potent than morphine.
Thank you, Dr. Andrew.